All right, hello everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Sox Prospects podcast, exclusive for Patreon members. At least at first, we're going to put this up. This is Sunday the 11th. It's 9:30 or so. Round one of the draft is still going on. What pick are they on, Ian? I'm away from my TV.
Like 22.
22. All right, so it's still going. Yeah. But the Red Sox are done for the night. They picked fourth overall. We're going to talk about Marcelo Mayer falling to four. This is our reaction podcast. Again, putting this up for our supporters on patreon.com/SoxProspects. If you're listening to this on the regular feed, we're putting this up on the regular feed midday Monday for everyone to be able to check it out. But if you are a supporter on patreon.com, you're getting exclusive first access to this recap, this reaction edition of the podcast to the Red Sox drafting fourth overall for the first time since 1968, I think, or something like that.
Before I was alive. By a long time.
A lot happened before you were alive, Ian. Ian, let's start before we get into the scouting report and the kind of obvious questions. Let's dial back. So this afternoon, I'm on my couch. I just finished watching The Fast and the Furious with my wife.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah.
Good taste in movies.
But we just got HBO Max, so.
Oh, it's actually, I do enjoy HBO Max. I watched something that was not enjoyable this afternoon that we don't need to talk about, but.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is this a bad time to mention that I'm half Italian? The look on your face says yes. Okay. Anyways, moving along. Finish that. I start editing the reports that Will Woodward, bless his heart.
God. Yeah,
bless the kid's
Will
heart.
grinds with the draft. I love it.
I don't know why anymore. It's fun. It's funny. But so Will every year writes up. It's usually 5 or 6 guys who might get picked by the Red Sox, so that we have a report ready.
Yeah.
And I'm reading his reports. I'm reading, Jack Leiter, Henry Davis, Jackson Jobe, Jordan Lawler, Khalil Watson, Kumar Rocker. I think that's it. That's all he wrote up. He didn't write up Marcelo Mayer. And the joke is that every year the Red Sox take someone who Will did not write up. And this goes back to even when they were, even 2 of the years they picked 7th.
Yeah.
That happened.
But the thing is, I don't blame him. Like, I tweeted it that, so coming into today, like, there was just no scenario where I thought this was in play.
No.
Like,
I mean, we should have known, but
and this is the thing. Like, I go back to, and I don't know if this is what actually happened. We'll see what happens when he gets his bonus. But Fangraphs had a thing in their chat a couple weeks ago that was like Mayer's in play for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Like, there's rumors going around.
KG. KG
and
Eric. Yeah.
That, I mean, we don't know exactly. We'll see what he signs for, but they were really the only people I saw like putting him in and said that it might even be a consideration. And I just like, he wasn't on my radar. I mean, if you saw, like, I tweeted out my pref list for the Red Sox, and this was just kind of a combination of, reading all the reports, the mock drafts, talking to a few amateur scouts, just talking to some front office people. And Mayer was my number one guy. And then it was kind of a tier, and then it was Davis and Leiter was the second tier, and then there was a drop off.
Yeah. And
I wanted one of those 3. And when the Pirates said they were taking Henry Davis, I got very concerned.
Well, let's set the tone. Yeah. So it's 7 o'clock. The draft starts. 7:04. Who was it? Was it Jim Callis?
It was Callis.
Breaks that.
Future podcast guest, maybe. Just thinking.
That'd be neat. We should talk to him soon, like Sunday. And so
7:03 to be exact. So good on
Callis.
Was it
7:03? Because you sent the message in the Slack at 7:04.
Yeah.
Callis breaks that Pittsburgh is going to take Henry Davis number 1 overall, which cool because he was there in person, which is kind of
definitely. Well, and first off, credit to the Pirates, like, keeping that quiet. Davis said he knew for like over an hour, and I remember
he didn't tell anybody. Yeah, good for him.
Goldstein and Eric Longenhagen from Fangraphs were doing a chat, and they were like, as of 10 minutes before the draft or something, that the Pirates haven't told anyone yet that they're picking.
Good for them.
So credit to them for keeping that quiet. But yeah.
So that comes in, and just kind of like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
We know for 10 minutes before the pick that it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so confused, and I have to explain this tweet because I've already been called out. I got asked a question about this once, and I got literally called out once because I get how it reads. I tweeted like, if this is true, like the wish list or pref list, whatever, I think I went Leiter, Lawler. Yeah, I went Leiter, Lawler, Mayer or something for 4th overall. I didn't mean it in order. It was like Leiter, Lawler, and I like just threw Mayer in because like he's still there, I guess. So like I guess he's on the 3, right? I just figured he wasn't going to be there. It wasn't meant to be in order. I get that this sounds like garbage. If that's your reaction, I get it. But it's like, I just threw that out there because I'm just like, I'm trying to hurriedly finish editing these reports, and I'm starting to realize like, oh my God, he didn't write up Mayer. Which, by the way, Marcelo begins with M-A, so does Mayer. It's not M-E-Y, it's M-A-Y. Both words start with M-A. That's how to remember it.
You just had me checking every tweet I've sent tonight to make sure I spelled it correctly,
Yeah.
which I have.
Oh, I've been spelling it. Well, the way I remembered it is because Mayer and Lawler have as many A's as it makes sense to put in there. That's how I've been remembering it for weeks now. So anyway, so that pick comes in. Leiter goes number 2 to the Rangers, which makes sense. That had been projected somewhat. You said you were starting to panic at this point?
Well, no. So, like, after Davis went, I was talking with a few people with some teams and just talking with some other people about just what the scenarios were. And Davis going first was really, like, the scare scenario because everything we'd read was the Red Sox wanted one of the 2 college guys. And I think that was the case. They would, their preference coming in was they'd get either Al Leiter or Henry Davis, and that was under the presumption that Marcelo Mayer was the other pick. They wanted those college guys, but when Davis went 1, it just seemed like it was lining up that Leiter was going to go 2 because that was the rumor, and it seemed like Texas was going to call his bluff. And then 3, everyone said basically Detroit is infatuated with Mayer. They'll take Job if Mayer's gone, but if Mayer's there, they'll take Mayer. And so that left me in a situation where it's like, well, that seems like the top 3 guys off the board. What do the Red Sox do? I mean, obviously the shortstops are there, but then there were those rumors coming, the last day or two about how, if they look to cut an underslot deal, maybe it's Matt McClain or Harry Ford.
Yeah.
And Harry Ford would have been interesting.
They being the Red Sox, yes.
Correct. But Matt McClain, like, I'm not on McClain at all. And
I didn't love either of those. I don't want like a high school catcher at 4th overall.
And that's the thing for me. This is such a unique opportunity. You're a team that's in first place in your division, picking at the top of a draft with impact up the middle high school talent.
Yeah. And let me jump in real quick too. When I say no high school catcher, like not like Bryce Harper. Like if it's a high school catcher, it better be a stud. Like Harry Ford's not a stud.
Harry Ford's good. He's like, he was a consensus, 10 to 15th pick in the draft, and he went 12th. Like, he was a nice player, and like, if you take him, obviously you're going way under slot, and then it turns into a situation, kind of what the Royals did, where it's like, you can't judge the draft until you see everything else, or what the Red Sox did last year with Nick York. Mm-hmm. But yeah, anyway, so it just was like running through the scenarios, and it just seemed like, this could be interesting. Like, yeah. I don't know what happens now.
Yeah, but then it gets out that Job is indeed going 3.
Yeah, and that was when it's
like, oh crap! Like at first it's like they better do this. Was kind of where my head was at.
Yeah, the first thing was it was like, if they don't take Mayer here, I don't want to. I might have to go radio silent on the internet for a few days because I don't know what I can say that's gonna be like good.
Right.
Because like, when you have a chance to get the consensus top guy, and it's the same thing with like Jay Groom at 2016. When a top guy like that falls to you, you just have to take him.
Yeah, like, if you're the Red Sox and you can pay him, like
exactly. Even if you haven't talked to his camp or anything, which I'm gonna guess they have. But
they have, and if maybe this is a good time for me to jump in on the press availability with Paul Taboni, the director of scouting. First of all, he had I can't say the full word of S-eating grin, but like
he looked very happy is what you want to say.
He looked like they were clearly ecstatic. Like last year was Taboni's first as the scouting director and his first media availability in that role, and he was clearly like they were clearly very happy with Nick York. He had great things to say about Nick York. He was clearly being genuine when he said those things. He looked like it was Christmas morning on this call.
Can you blame him though?
No. And he said, look, because Sean McAdam asked him, at what point did you realized that Mayer was probably going to be there at 4, and he said when Leiter got picked and we were plugged in and heard that the Tigers were going to take Job.
Yeah.
That's when you could see the faces around the room start to light up. And he even said like like the media availability earlier this week, and I guess just generally leading up to the draft, he has made it a point to say that they were looking to draft someone who could lead by example and set an example for other players in the minor leagues in the organization and be a leader. And someone asked him, like, did you have Mayer in mind because you're saying all of those things again as you describe him? And he's like, yeah, admittedly I was. Like, that's exactly who I was thinking of, because he said they were on Mayer when they were scouting
Keone Cavaco.
Keone Cavaco, yes. When they were scouting
2019, he was the Twins' first-round pick, 13th overall, I believe.
Yep, 13th overall. He's first baseman.
Third baseman.
Third baseman. Okay, I think
yeah.
Okay.
He's a third baseman.
He's a third baseman, but he was in the same infield as Mayer, and he's like, we've been on him since then. Like, we've seen him a ton.
I think it was on the Fangraphs guy in their preview podcast this week. They talked about how like scouts would come back from watching Cavaco and be like, oh no, he's not even the best infielder on his team. Like, this Mayer guy is so much better. Mm-hmm. And that was when he was a sophomore, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So. Yeah, I mean,
I think that was when Kylie was talking with them too, actually, because that was a great episode of that podcast.
Yeah, it was very good. But it's just one of those things that this is just such a unique opportunity. You know, they obviously don't plan on picking 4th anytime soon. Like, that's pretty clear. And with the talent they have, they're not going to be picking 4th anytime soon again. And they got, I would say the consensus top prospect. Obviously some people have him at 2, but I would say the majority of sites have him as the number 1 player. And I mean, I know several other teams. There's plenty of teams that had him as the number 1 player. So what a coup for the Red Sox to get him at 4 is just remarkable. All
right, we're already at 12 minutes, so why don't you give us the scouting report, Ian, and then we'll get to things like bonus, what happens the rest of the draft, ranking, which I've already been asked at least 4 times.
I've been asked like 5 times too. Yeah.
So again, scouting report, which is just, I think that is the headline. Basically, it's above average tools across the board, pretty much, except for
speed.
For speed.
Yeah, it's for like 55, at least 55 to 60 tools, which is just crazy. I mean, that as a point of reference in the Red Sox system right now, there's not a single player I would put that skill set on.
Plus, he looks like Vince from Entourage.
Oh my God, his hair is incredible. Did you see? It's great. I don't know how you can factor that in. You can't factor that into the scouting report because you have to. Like, it was perfect. Yeah. But he also, I don't know who was working with him media wise, but he was very smart in his answer when asked, so you were a Yankees fan growing up? And he's like, no, I'm the biggest Red Sox fan you've ever met. Which is, so I mean, bravo to whoever worked with him on that. But
I mean, so was Matt Barnes, who just signed an extension with the Red Sox.
Well, exactly, which we'll talk about later this week.
Yes.
But he's, just the tall, athletic frame, 6'3". I think he's like 180 listed right now, just super loose, projectable.
And if I could jump in here, actually, apparently he's never lifted a weight in his life.
Well, that's going to change.
Paul Taboni said, yeah. So if you project him to get bigger, that's part of why.
Well, and it's one of those things that everyone knows that person growing up or in high school that like just was naturally gifted to the point where they didn't have to go to the gym to be jacked. And like he clearly, he looks the part already. And I'm very excited to see what happens when he gets in like a professional strength and conditioning program, because he definitely has room in his frame to add strength. His hit tool, I think it's, this was just, I've, shot some texts off, talked to a few people with teams, and then also just, reading around to the various sources. Seems like potential plus to better hit tool. His stance, he starts open, vertical with his hands high. Really, it's very quiet. That's what I noticed is he's kind of effortless at the plate. Like he doesn't have, that big leg kick. It's not a super like aggressive load with a ton of hand movement. It's very loose. It's very quiet, and it's just very fluid. And he's got quick hands. The ball really jumps off his bat. He can turn on velocity. I mean, there's video of him online of him turning on like, 96, 97 miles an hour. Really advanced approach for a high school bat. Will go to all fields. Like there's just a lot to like with him at the hit tool. And he's got some pop already. Right now it's mostly like gap to gap, and he needs to add strength. But, when he starts elevating the ball more, there's definitely potential with that frame, that 6'3" frame for potential, above average to plus power in his peak. As you said, run tool is like fringe average. What I was told, but really good instincts. One of those guys, that he's not going to steal a ton of bases, but he's going to make the heady plays. He gets good reads and just knows how to play the game. And so he'll kind of play faster than his speed will indicate. And then defensively, it seems like he's a definite shortstop. He moves really well, just very fluid, good hands, good footwork, very instinctual defender, just really reads the game, and has good range plus arm. I mean, as you take all that into account, we're talking about, as I said, 4 tools that you'd put at least a 55, maybe a 60 on, depending on the scouts you're talking to. And I'm sure there are some scouts, I mean, I haven't talked to them yet, but I'm sure there are some people who would go higher on the hit tool, potentially maybe even defense. Like, there's just with those 4 tools, you're looking at you can dream on an everyday shortstop with at least an all-star ceiling. And it's going to be a fascinating discussion figuring out where he slots in the system, because the proximity game comes into account. But at the same time, this is such a unique talent that I never thought the Red Sox would have a chance to draft, even though he was number 1 on my pref list for them. And the fact that they did, it's going to be very interesting trying to figure out where to slot him in.
Yeah, and maybe we do you want to go to that now? I mean, we might as well. A clear top 3 to me right now. I know you said top 4 on Twitter.
Well, that's because I'm not as down on Jeter Downs as I think some other people are. Like, I still get it. I still like him. And I think, like, it's just a tough, Jeter Downs doesn't have the loud tools like Mayer does. Mayer has the potential for 6s, whereas Downs is mostly 5s and 55s. But how do you value that proximity? Whereas I think Jeter Downs could be up in the big leagues next year versus Mayer's 3 years away. If everything goes great.
Put it this way: Bobby Witt Jr., as drafted as a high school shortstop in 2019, there was word that he's in Double-A right now.
Yeah,
and that's the aggressive development path.
Exactly. So
part factors in the fact that there was no year last year.
Fair, but let's say we're super aggressive 2 years. Like, how do you value that? It's a tough one, but
I think it's 3 years at the most aggressive, reasonable projection you can have for Mayer. If he gets there quicker, it's because he's a future Hall of Famer.
Good. Yeah. But I think it's definitely top 4. It's just I'm not sure exactly where he fits in with the rest of that group, because they're just all so much closer to the big leagues. It's going to be, I don't know if it's a case where I want to be lower to start, because hopefully we'll get eyes on him on this year in some capacity. I don't know how we'll make it work, whether it be, in the FCL this year or at Instructs. Like, it's going to be, it's a tough one just because of that game where you have these 3 guys who with Duran and Downs who are in AAA, and then Casas in AA, who are all, established high-end prospects. And then you've got this young guy who is super talented, top guy in the class. It's kind of a fun problem to have. But yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm going to have to dig into it more. But if I had to guess right now, my gut feel is I would have him 2.
I'm thinking 2 or 3.
I might be 3. Yeah.
It depends. It depends how you value Tristan Casas and Jarren Duran.
Yeah.
Because that's variable as well. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. And I think on ceiling, he has the highest ceiling of those guys because he can play shortstop.
Agreed.
Because Casas, I think, has more power, and I think maybe their hit tools are comparable. Maybe Mayer's is a little better. But the big difference is Casas is a first baseman, whereas Mayer is going to be a shortstop. And if he's a plus defender at shortstop, that immediately makes him, that the value there is insane.
So this
and so
yeah. Sorry, I thought you were
no. So that's kind of like the hard part, is like factoring in all those things.
Because for me, and this is part of why I know I kind of briefly brought it up on the last full episode of the podcast, and I brought it up again this week, wanting to raise the discussion of, is Tristan Casas still the number 1 prospect, or is Jarren Duran in the system? Tristan Casas has one way to be an impact major leaguer, not a major leaguer or an average regular, like an impact, like a 6, right? And that's to be a stud middle of the order hitter, right? Duran can run. Part of the reason why I don't think Duran is clearly a better prospect than him is because, like, the defense is not good, right? I mean, it's getting better.
I think he's going to be a corner outfielder, though.
Probably, yeah. He's probably like a Benintendi who comes up as a center fielder and settles in and left. Probably.
Yeah. Which is the same thing we said with Benintendi. We said he wasn't a center fielder. Like, we were right on that one. Yeah.
Right. And I feel better about Duran in center than Benintendi in terms of what he could be, because he's got the speed.
That's the thing. I do agree with that, because Benintendi was, as we've seen, is just not fast. He's like a 40 runner now. So yeah.
It's the number of ways. It's the reason that Gilberto Jimenez is still a number 4 prospect, in that the number of ways you can impact a game. Mayer could be an impact defensive shortstop, an impact offensive shortstop, potentially could develop power, has a great arm. Like, there are multiple ways he could develop that would still make him an impact-based major league player, or even an average regular, frankly.
Well, that was the thing one scout said to me was like, remarkably high floor for a high school player.
Yeah.
And that's a very good thing, because obviously in high school guys, there is inherent risk, but that defense gives him, if the bat doesn't develop like anticipated, he's still got that defense to fall back on.
I mean, I remember the thing with Mayer is he's been a top 10 draft prospect since last fall, right? He's been in that conversation the whole time, which I love. He's not a pop-up guy. He's not a guy that was potentially falling. There was the time when it was like clear top 3 of Lawler, Leiter, Rocker, with Mayer going to the Red Sox at 4. And I think the more I read the scouting reports, I was like, I'm cool with this. Like, I was just kind of like, that. I'm fine with that. Like, that sounds great. And then that's why it was just kind of like everyone sort of realized, like, when Rocker was having his issues, when Leiter's velo dipped for 3 weeks and he like missed a start, when, Lawler started to fall, and like all of a sudden Mayer's going 1-1. I'm like, okay, yeah, like I think everyone kind of came around to like, yeah, Mayer is probably the guy.
In a weird way, he has like the fewest question marks of those top guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, even Davis as the college
Davis
hitter.
Is the catcher. It's the catcher thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I think that's why, like, even with all of that said, and I that's why I was on Mayer as the top guy for the pref list for the Red Sox. I obviously didn't think it was realistic, but
yeah,
there's so many paths for him, and there's just so much talent. Like, it's just remarkable that he fell to 4. And yeah. I mean, should we talk about now why probably the reason he fell to 4? Because it's probably to do with the bonus he's going to get.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the money. I was trying to think of what other big thing. So, well, I don't know if that's why. Well, it probably is actually why he fell to 4. It's why he didn't go 1.
Well, yeah, it's why he didn't go 1, correct. Because they're going to give Davis, I think it's around like 4th pick money, it seems.
Probably.
3rd, 4th pick money. So if you go to the like the pick slots, the first pick is worth $8.4 million, the second pick 7.8, third pick 7.2, and the Red Sox at 4 is 6.7.
To be precise, it's $6,664,000.
Yeah, I was just rounding.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just saying, for the Red Sox pick, that's precisely what it is.
So when you're looking at it from the Pirates' perspective, if they had those two guys pretty similar in Davis and Mayer, and they can sign Davis for 6.6 or let's say even 7, they saved $1.4 million at minimum to move around to another pick. That's another, that's the equivalent of getting like a early 2nd round pick. And if you can add that to another, they can get a 1st round pick in there with their 2nd pick with that type of money. So they're basically just gambling that they can get the 2 players they're going to get with Davis and that extra money are better than Mayer. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think Mayer fell was, and it seems like the Rangers were pretty set on Leiter. That seems.
Yep. And I think what happens with Job to Detroit, if you look at how the board fell, I bet the Red Sox probably were out on him and the Orioles were probably clearly out on him if they were going college guy. Like, if they're saying, hey, if we don't pick you at 3, you're going to fall to Arizona at 6 and their slot's 5.7.
Exactly. Job is going to be under slot 2. Like,
Job's probably going to, 7.2, 2, so he probably gets, 6.5?
I was just saying, like, it could be closer to 6.
Yeah, to go 7th or to go 3rd.
Yeah.
So Mayer, we talked before we recorded. I liked the number you threw out of 7.5, and keep in mind, even though the Red Sox slot for this pick is $6,664,000, slot plus 5% is really the number you want to look at because the Red Sox are going to go 5% over their slot cap. It's like $6,997,000. So call it $7 million.
And that's the baseline, assuming they don't sign any of their other picks, which
right.
they could. But yeah,
I think 7.5 sounds right.
I could see it being my range. I think it's between 7.5 and 8 would be my guess. But like I'd
be stunned if he got 8.
I could see a situation though where he probably wants like 8.4, which is first pick. But yeah, I think it's between 7.5 and 8, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends actually probably Leiter. I do wonder if it's gonna be. I think it has to be more than Leiter. Like,
if you look at Austin Martin last year when he went 5th, he got 7.
Yeah.
Like if you're the
Red
Red
Sox, the bonus
Sox,
slots are the same.
The bonus slots are the same. I mean, looking at the first round, like Spencer Torkelson got 8.4 last year, 1st overall, and Martin got the 2nd highest bonus at $7 million flat. Mm-hmm. 2019, looking at the bonuses, this according to Baseball Reference, Adley Rushman got 8.1. Bobby Wick got 7.7. Andrew Vaughn got 7.2. And they went 1, 2, 3 in that order, and then it drops to
But
JJ
since
Bleday got 6.
that draft, obviously the money has increased. So
No. 19 and 20 and 21 all have the same bonus slots.
Oh, I thought it was 20 and 21.
No, because last year was the same as the year before.
Gotcha.
So that's all with the same slots. So like 7, I have a hard time thinking it's 8 for that reason. I think 2 guys have ever gotten 8.
So if it's 7-5, they have to get 600K, and this was kind of playing into another thing that I was thinking is we're going to know pretty quickly what his bonus numbers are going to be, because the Red Sox second round pick is worth 1.8567. So, 1,856,700. That is the easiest way to do it, is just you bump that down with like a senior. And if you there's some really good senior pitchers in this class, like the kid from Fordham, whose name escapes me right now. And there's a few other ones who are considered like second, third round talents. You just pop one of those guys, give him 1 million or 1.2, and that's the difference. But if they take someone in the second round that's, a talent that's kind of more in line with that pick, then that tells me that they know Mayer's getting closer to slot than closer to that higher end number that we were throwing out.
Because and the reason, just to kind of finish you made the point, like, so the slot for 40 is 1.856. In the third round, it's down to 831,000. You can no longer save that amount of money on one pick. You have to save the amount of money. And like, did you already? I don't think you already mentioned this.
No.
The Mets draft in 2019 would be the model, that you would use if you're planning on what they did that year. Is their top 3 picks were Brett Beatty, who was the second guy, and Matt Allen in the third.
Josh Wolf
went in the second round. Matt Allen in the third round. And they basically punted the rest of their draft.
Everything was seniors after that who got less than 20K.
Yeah, the rest of the
40K.
No, the rest less than 10K for the rest of the rounds 4 through 10.
4 through 10, yeah. So they did it 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they did.
I think for those 6 picks, I think it was 4 guys got 10K and 2 of them got 1 million.
Wasn't it?
Sorry, 1,000.
Yeah, wasn't it like combined? It was under 100,000 though.
It was 6 guys. 4 of them got 10 grand.
That's what I said. It was under.
So it was 42 grand. Like
I thought 2 of them got 20.
I don't think so, and I closed it like a numbskull.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point was they punted those rounds and took seniors, and while taking those seniors allowed them to sign their first 3 picks well over slot. And so
Jake Mangum got 20. So there was one. So it was 52,000.
Yeah, which is not a lot.
Oh no, hold on. 4 through 10 is 7 picks. It's 7 picks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it was.
I thought it was close to 100. It was like 82 or something.
No, it wasn't. It's 220, 50, 62,000.
Okay, 62,000.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's the other model, and I think we'll know pretty quickly with what they do in the second round, because with either their second or third pick, because when you get down to the fourth round slot is 550K, and like at that point, unless I guess you could take a senior and sign him for 1,000, but the odds are that we'll see some movement with the second and third pick, and that will give us an idea of kind of what his bonus demands are.
Yep.
And I've just on that, I've got like a bunch of questions that have basically more or less, does he sign? I'd be sad if he didn't sign. Like, they know his number and they have a plan to get there. You don't take him fourth not knowing his number and knowing how you get there. Like, the odds in this draft of like first round picks not signing is very low, and frankly, I would be surprised if, most teams probably sign 18 or 19 of their picks.
Yeah, and the thing is with Mayer, you have the only incentive you have to not sign now is he's 18, right? So he's not going to be draft eligible until he's a junior.
He's young. He's on the young side. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically if you think with the NIL stuff that you can make up that much money.
Well, I disagree because there's no way you can. College baseball isn't big enough that you can. This was a question on various other podcasts this week on the national level. Like the name, image, like you can make that money in football, you can make it in basketball, you can't make it in baseball.
And that's why I don't know if I'm pretty sure this is right. None of the 2-sport guys have gone yet.
Was Painter one of them?
No. Yeah, none of the 2-sport guys have gone yet. So I think
Interesting.
it's like Will Taylor and Bubba Chandler were
Yep.
the two big
The two
ones.
Clemson guys. Yep.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
neither of them has been drafted yet. So I wonder, because football is the sport where you can make that type of money, especially like if you're a Clemson quarterback, like
Yeah. Yeah.
you can make that money. I'm sure someone will make sure you make that money. I mean, it's Clemson.
Chase Petty
But
at 26 to the Twins is a nice pick, by the way.
yeah, I mean, this draft, we can maybe wrap up with this afterwards.
Yeah.
This draft has just been a lot of fun. Like,
Just pure chaos. That's what
Which
I
I
said
love.
beforehand. I wanted pure chaos, and then the Orioles took Colton Cowser 5, and then the Royals took Frank Mazzucato at 7 out of
I heard
Connecticut.
a lot of good feedback on him, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Not seventh pick feedback, but like there were a lot of people who really like him. But I mean, the Royals are going to go. That has to be what, 3 million, 2.5. Like they're going to have to go. Way
They're going to
under.
spread. They're going to spread the money around. Well, here's the thing, because that's when you get down to like the big names who were left there were Kumar Rocker, Brady House, and Khalil Watson was still out there.
Yeah.
Watson fell all the way to 16. My God.
Yeah,
The thing is, at that point, it's like if you think Mazzucato is only a shade below those guys,
exactly.
and you think you can get like 3 more guys at that level if you take him there, whereas if you take like Kumar Rocker fell to 10. I'm curious how the Mets are going to play this because their slot is 4.7. If you're Kumar
And
Rocker,
he's going to want 6.
if I'm
6'5".
Kumar Rocker, I want 6. Yeah, Brady House at
Yeah.
at 11 to the Nats.
But it's the Nats. They'll figure it
4.5.
out.
I mean,
it's
I'm
Mike
sure they
Rizzo.
will, but it's also
Yeah.
just like, I mean, even I'm curious. Watson at 16 to the Fish.
Well, that's interesting. I thought he would go to Cincinnati because Cincinnati had like 17, 30,
Yeah.
33, and 35 or something. So they had easy ways to move money around. Miami, they don't have any extra picks.
No,
So I don't know how. I mean, yeah,
they're gonna
have
punt in
to,
their second round.
There's
I
gonna
bet.
have to be some creative things to get there.
The Reds took Matt McLean at 17. That's going to be interesting to see what he gets and what they do with their money. Like, I wonder if they're just going to go big in their next 2 picks.
Or Dave Dombrowski just Dombrowskiing it up at 13, taking the bet like a 6'7"
Painter.
high school righty who throws hard. Like, oh, I love it. It was perfect.
It's awesome.
And but I just think like this draft on a whole, like Kumar Rocker in New York is awesome for baseball. Like that
Yes.
is going to be so much fun to watch, and like things like that. But I also like Harry Ford in Seattle. That's an exciting player going to a development system that's been churning out position players recently. Like Jordan Lawler going out to Arizona. I think that's really good for baseball. You're spreading the talent. Like Jordan Lawler was a consensus top pick. Arizona is not very good, and they got one of the top guys at 6. Like that's good for baseball when things like that happen. As you said, like, yeah, Khalil Watson falling to Miami, learning from like Derek Jeter and Jazz Chisholm and all those guys. That's a fun like scenario if he signs. Like there's just a lot with this draft that's been a lot of fun and like good outcomes. And I got to credit too, like the Blue Jays getting Gunnar Hoglund at 19. Like that's a great pick. That guy was a top 10 pick before he blew out his arm.
Yep. Yeah.
Like there's just been a lot of that, and it got me really excited to see what happens tomorrow because the Red Sox are in such it's so different than what we're used to. I'm used to, the Red Sox, all right, I got to wait 20 picks for them to pick in the round. Like they're picking 4th tomorrow. Like we're going straight into the, you know what I mean? We're jumping straight into the pool. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do tomorrow.
Well, our 15-minute podcast has turned into a 33-minute podcast. So let's wrap this up because I got to put this online and take the dog out and get ready for bed because I'm old. Patrons, thank you for your support. We appreciate it. We do what we do because of your support. Thank you for that. Everyone else, patreon.com/SoxProspects if you want to support us. You've got time. It's Sunday night. We're recording our next episode of the podcast Tuesday night. Podcast at SoxProspects.com. Get your emails in. I think we just basically talk draft Tuesday night.
It'll be draft, and then there's a few like current event, like Futures Game, and a few other things.
I think there was some
to touch on.
promotion.
There's Futures Game promotions and Matt Barnes, but that's it. Pretty much going to be draft.
Right. Yeah. So get your emails in if you've got draft questions. We're also having a guest on our next episode who we didn't already tell you.
No. 2 episodes from
2 episodes from now. Right. I meant like the next episode after the one we were just discussing, but fair.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. This is exciting. Be happy, Red Sox Nation.
It's fun stuff. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back at you this week.